Try to see if I can come up with sort of maybe a strange explanation of like the kind of weird shit that gone through now for years, somewhat. Well, I'll make a sort of fictitious, like okay, just like the kind of sort of things that I go through, right? Okay, let's say you get up one day and say you drove say a red Mustang, and you live in a big white house, and you don't have a neighbor within distance where you can see their house or anything, right? Okay, so you wake up one day and say you turn on the TV first thing in the morning, you watching the TV and you see say Richard Pryor and John Candy are on TV, live TV in the morning with Bruce Lee, and they're old men and they're all alive and they're having a chat together, right? And you think, hell, what's this? Those guys were dead, right? And then you see, you see Rambo Part 9 is on next, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, what? Okay. That's weird. Well, I gotta get up and go. You got to go to your car, and your car is a blue Porsche. But you have a feeling that is your car, though. But you could have swore it was a red Mustang. That's weird. Get in your car and you look in the rear view mirror and you look back and your house is blue. It's like old faded blue paint, like it was never white before. And you look across the street and you see your neighbor's house right in front of you, right within plain view, which you've never seen before. But what's weird is you have seen your neighbor's house from the road before, and what's weird is the house that you're seeing over there now, it looks like it's the same sort of house, but it looks like they're just building it now, like it's under construction. But that seems a little strange to you because, like, for one thing, it's in a different place, and for another thing, that house has been there for like 50 years. So it seems kind of weird that it's now just under construction right now. You go out and say, hey, what's going on, to your neighbor, and he doesn't know who the hell you are. It's like he's never met you before. Oh yeah, we just moved here from Texas or whatever, right? You're like, yeah, I know. Doesn't know you, never met you. That's weird. You go to your job or something, right? You show up there and you see people that you know, but they don't seem to know who the hell you are. And people that you don't know who the hell they are come up to you like they're your best friends and like they know everything about you and everything. You find out that you have a different job title. You work in a different division of the company. So you go about your job, right? And you come home and on the radio you hear a song that you've heard thousands of times before, but the lyrics are different. You know, something you've memorized over and over. The lyrics are different. You stop off to get get a soda, you go for a Coca-Cola. It's spelled Kokekola. Like, I think, what is this? Some kind of weird knockoff? Oh, well, whatever. Drink that, right? Maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe you want some Starbucks. You show up there and there's a blue sign with a big deer, you know, a 10-point buck on it, with like a star on its chest, right? Like, well, that's weird. They changed the logo. No, it's always been that way. You think, shit, I'll swing into Taco Bell for something. You pull up and the place is like a block further down the street than you remember it being, and the logo on the sign is completely different than you remember it being. You walk into the, you go in to the drive-thru. You pulled through in your vehicle many times before, but now the drive-thru is arranged totally different. You know, maybe you ask, hey, did you guys, what happened? You guys move? Or like, no, I've been here for 20 years. Well, what happened to your sign? You said, no, it's always been that way. Go down the street, you drive a little further down the street. You see a little building on the side of the road. Heroin or us. Like, what? The hell is that? I'm not there to find out that heroin is legal and has been the whole time, and that they legalized it, say, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And there's just all these heroin shops everywhere selling heroin. I'm like, well, that's fucking weird, right? Stop into the convenience store maybe to get another soda or to get an energy drink or something, and you see that they're selling pot behind the counter next to the vapes and the cigarettes or something, right? Like, well, that is also weird. Okay. And you recognize the person that works behind the counter, except they look like they're 20 years younger or 20 years older or something, right? Whatever. Pick one. Doesn't matter. You recognize this person as this like 20-year-old that you see behind the counter all the time, and now they look like they're, say, 50, and they've got like graying hair and they're 100 pounds overweight, and you're like, what happened to you? Or, something like that, right? I'm just describing kind of what the Mandela effect is like, and then like everything's different though. Your church is different. Your Bible's different. Your the stores, the brand names of things in the grocery store are different. The people behave differently. They seem strange, like something out of this world that you're not used to dealing with. Just their personalities have changed. Family members that were kind and loving and always nice to you are suddenly mean and vindictive assholes, and people that were mean, vindictive assholes are suddenly nice people, super nice and sweet people. Get a call on your phone from somebody that never met in your entire life that swears that you've been best friends for 20 years or something, right? They're worried about you because they don't know what's going on, Say a few months pass, holidays come, and you meet up with your family, and you find out that your brother or your sister has a artificial limb. They've got like a plastic leg or something, peg leg sort of thing that they're walking on because of some car accident that they were in 10 years ago. But you never knew about this. This is new to you. What the hell? What do you mean you had a car accident? When did this happen? What happened to your leg? You knew about this. What are you talking about? It's been that way. It was 10 years ago, man. What are you talking? Right? Everybody looks at you like you're crazy. Like, what the hell? Remember? How could you not know that, right? They start to have a conversation discussing a vacation that you all went on that you have absolutely no memory of. They show you pictures of you and them standing in front of a museum that you've never been to in your life with people that you've never met before that went on the trip with you that they say were your friends from some college that you don't remember ever going to, right? You notice, something else you noticed, but it just didn't stand out that much to you, but you did notice as you were driving down the street that there were a bunch of vehicles that you'd never seen before, a bunch of different brand names of vehicles and models of cars and things that you'd never seen before. Just seemed weird, like you turn on the news or whatever and pick up a newspaper and there's all kinds of weird, strange things that make absolutely no sense to you, that are just really weird, that it's like this isn't right, what's going on here, right? Maybe you see on your Facebook profile or something, somebody posted pictures of the Great Sphere of Giza, and you're like, what? What do you mean, Great Sphere? What? I've never heard of that. And then you find out that the pyramids in Egypt don't exist, and there's big circles there in their place or something, right? And say you I don't know, you look at a globe and you see that entire continents seem to be in different places, and the North Pole is missing, and there's countries that you've never heard of before, and some of the countries that you remember, the continents and things that you remember seeming to be there, appear to be gone from the globe. You're wondering what happened. Yeah, that's weird. You look to God for help, for guidance. You pick up your Bible and open up to Genesis, and the whole start of Genesis is different than what you remember it to be, and maybe you pray the Lord's Prayer and then you come to find out that it's completely different in the Bible that you've had in your possession ever since you were a little kid. The Bible that you learned and memorized the prayer from, the prayer is different now. Now the wolf dwells with the lamb instead of the lion, and you try discussing this with your family, but they all dismiss everything you say, and or maybe they'd notice some strange things too, but they just think, oh, I just must have been misremembering or something, right? Oh yeah, and the sun this whole time is now blue. Forgot to mention that the sun was blue in this world. But, everyone seems to think that that's just perfectly normal. Doesn't seem to bother anyone. There's a full moon every week now. Now there's 5 seasons instead of 4, right? You see a fucking pterodactyl fly over when you're on your way home, by the way. Oh, look out your window and you swear that looked like a pterodactyl or something just flew over. Yeah? Yeah, that's perfectly fine, perfectly normal. Right? Everyone acts as though it's perfectly fine and perfectly normal. Maybe you start to discuss these things, start to say something about it to family and friends and just coworkers and things, and they all act like you're crazy. And then you start to notice that everywhere you go, you're being followed. You start to notice that people act more and more strangely around you. That there's all sorts of weird obstacles that show up in your way, trying to block you from making any progress, and everything you try to do to improve your life gets shut down. Right? You try to look on the internet, see if you can find anybody else that notices the things you notice. And you find 2 or 3 people, or maybe even 5 or 6, barely talking about it. Old videos from years ago or something, right? But they're just talking about like little things, like how things are spelled differently and weird shit like that, Also, when you came home, you noticed that see, your driveway, there always used to be sort of an uphill slant to your driveway as you head up into your yard. But now when you get home, it's level. The driveway is level. This seems a bit odd to you. What happened? Did somebody level your driveway? I don't know. Then I could tack on more and more fictional stuff. Let's say there's 13 hours in a day instead of, I'm sorry, 26 or whatever, right? Increments of 13, So instead of like noon or 12 o'clock, then it becomes 13 o'clock or something, right? And then it rolls around to 1, right? Just all this kind of weird shit. That's, even your shoes. I'd say you wear a pair of Nikes or something, and the swoosh logo and said Nike on it. Well, now it's spelled like N-E-I-K-E or some shit, right? Or K-N-I-K-E or something, I'm like, what happened to my shoes, man? And, 'cause, 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 ' You go look on YouTube or something, there's all these like musicians popping up in your feed that you've never heard of in your entire fucking life. All these actors, comedians you don't recognize that are big major stars just seem to appear out of nowhere. Maybe you try to search for a movie that you remember seeing, but you can't find it anywhere. Can't find hardly anyone talking about it. Maybe a handful of people talk about remembering it. They're looking for it, but nobody can find it. You know, say you see Dirty Harry's on, so you go click on that, and freaking Frank Sinatra is Dirty Harry. And you're going, what the? Where's Clint Eastwood? You know? Like that's that's just like the man. That's essentially I'm not, like I said, that whole thing is just like, that's fictional scenario, but that's what it's like. That's what it's like with the Mandela effect. That's what that's like. You know, yeah. That's what the Mandela effect is basically like. That's how that goes, you know. And it's like every day, the longer you're there, and this, it seems like more and more things keep changing, and more weird stuff keeps happening, you know. Now you throw in the other weird stuff that gets kind of goes in together with this whole thing. You go to stop off at the grocery store to pick up some food or something, and as you get out of your car, you see like I don't know, a bunch of midgets jumping out of a little car or something, and you're like, huh. And you come out and you see somebody like standing there just over in the corner of the parking lot with a creepy clown mask just staring at you. You know? Like, okay, that's weird. You walk past some guy in a dress. Like, what? That's weird. What the fuck? Yeah. Then you come to find out that your kid's school has been teaching your kids to worship Satan. Right? Yeah. Come to find out that they were showing porn to your kids, your toddlers, for a mandatory sex ed class, right? It, just, you know, that's like the kind of weird. You see now your television is interrupted by a message from the president, and the president comes on and he says, "I, purple monkey, flinger yogurt monkeys, ice cream, I'm Joe Biden's wife. Okay." Right? And then there's like all these weird people standing around just looking super evil, like with these weird grins, and they've got like fucking dagger teeth and like weird slit fucking pupils like a snake. and they're just standing around the dude like,
you know.
like, well, this is weird. You look at like the news feed on your phone, and there's like 100 stories about meteors crashing to the earth and World War III and forest fires and floods and rivers and oceans turning to blood and massive satanic ceremonies everywhere, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Like that's kind of what it's like, what it's been like, Basically, that's essentially. I don't know. Say some dude you've known for years shows up one day, and he normally drives a white car, and then he shows up, same model car, but it's blue. You go, hey, what, did you get a new car or something? He's like, no, it's the same car. Also, he looks like he's older. He was 100 pounds overweight and had blonde hair, and now he's kind of thin with short gray hair. But then he stops by, say, a few weeks later, and he's 100 pounds overweight with long blonde hair again. Right? Like, weird shit to the max, man. That's and you're expected to just function in a society when this sort of shit is going on around you all the time. Like, you're supposed to act like, oh, it's just misremembering and everything's perfectly normal, There's a new sort of malevolence surrounding you, There's these people everywhere that seem to be completely, like, possessed or something. They're just evil as shit. They're super crazy and irrational and then there's other things like you notice that all the local cop cars in your town are different color, and the lights are different, and the sirens sound different, and the garbage truck that comes to pick up your garbage every week is different, and your garbage can is a different color and a different size. And if you drink, you notice that the brand name of the beer you normally drink has changed. The way it's spelled is spelled differently, and it's in a different type of bottle. Just so much weird stuff. Say you smoke, you grab your brand of smokes or whatever, a little more expensive, you light one up and they don't taste anything like the cigarettes you remember. Like, nowhere near as good. Or you picked up some dip from the store and a bag of chips, and you go to dip the chip and, take a bite of it, and the dip is almost like flavorless. It doesn't taste anywhere near as good as what you remember it tasting. It's totally different. There's been all kinds of weird fucking changes over the years that it's not like a static change where something changes or you're. That's why I don't think it's like I don't believe the multiverse explanation would explain it, nor do I necessarily believe that time travel would or anything like that. I'm thinking more along the lines of computer simulation or something, because the changes steadily happen. Most of the time it's for the worse. Sometimes it's just like weird or goofy or creepy or something, or pointless. Sometimes like things will be forgotten and things change. Well, okay, what I've actually remember, like, experienced a whole lot of things that changed. When the changes first came on, one of the things I noticed that I didn't hear many people talk about, and now that has completely changed. Now they have, like, better toys than fucking we did. But I was gonna say that one of the things I noticed at first when the changes hit was that for a while there, the toys that were for sale for kids and stuff basically sucked. Like, there was nothing cool. Like, I mean, because I'd wander through the aisles every now, past the aisles, and I'd look at this, But I noticed that, like, for a number of years there, it's like all the toys sucked. They were just junk, That totally changed. I mean, somebody fixed that, but there's all kinds of weird shit, Or, another example of, like, a real thing that happened is what the Mandela effect is, and that have never heard anyone mention, is that Kratom was scheduled as, Schedule 1 or something. Like, it was made illegal. It's classified as a drug. They announced it on television, they announced it on the radio, and then all of a sudden it was for sale everywhere. I mean, it was completely legal and it was everywhere. Before that, I'd hardly ever even heard of Kratom, and it wasn't in any of the fucking stores. It was nowhere. But one minute they're announcing it's illegal, the next minute it's for sale absolutely everywhere. It's a big craze. It's everywhere, Mm-hmm. But you also notice things that just seem to be, like, designed to mess with your head, Like, God, what was that kid, dang it. Yeah, no. You remember years back when there was this black kid. He's actually was 17 or something, and looked nothing like the pictures that they showed on the news and stuff. And there was this, like, Hispanic guy that the black kid had assaulted, and Hispanic guy that was, like, the security for this private gated community the kid had busted into had shot him or whatever. And this was, like, a big deal all over the news. And they'd show pictures of him, like, when he's, like, 8 years old in a freaking hoodie, white hoodie, looking like a freaking angel. And then they'd show the Hispanic guy with, like, his skin bleached to make him look like he's white. You remember that? And then come to find out that the kid was, like, high on cough syrup and shit, and they called it lean. And they kept using, like, Arizona iced tea and Skittles and shit as, like, a symbol, along with a hoodie, sweater and stuff, as, like, symbols of the kid or whatever. Well, I come to find out that the kid had, was high on cough syrup, and that they would mix the cough syrup with the Arizona iced tea and Skittles to make what they called lean to get high, right? Anyways, so around the time I figured this out, I go into one of these convenience stores and I see they're selling some shit called lean. I'm like, what? That's just an example of, like, how the world just fuck with your head. Or, like, you get the synchronicities, like the way that I mentioned the Daniel Boone thing, where, like, it's not the Mandela effect and the other weird shit that goes on, whether you want to wrap that up in the same category with the Mandela effect. It's like there is a supernatural force that not only is like altering the entire fabric of fucking reality of the entire world, but will actually go out of its way to fucking mess with your head personally and mess with your life personally. You know, not just like on a global scale, but on a macro scale, on like a, you know, changes to your own personal life and your own personal surroundings, and things that are just like, well, like how I mentioned how I just found out that it was related to Daniel Boone, and then I walk out in the living room and they're watching the Munsters, and Herman Munster's wearing a freaking coonskin cap saying they're related to Daniel Boone. And then a little while later, you know, a few weeks later or whatever, I'm watching Daniel Boone, and I pause it to go make a cake for my sister, and I start it back up as soon as I walk in. Daniel Boone's wife is baking a cake and talking about a daughter or something, right? Just weird shit, you know? Synchronicity. That's part of it. Alright then. That's enough ranting about the Mandela effect and weirdness of, well, like I said, most of that was just like, you know, a fictional concept just to try to get you, somebody who hasn't experienced this shit, to comprehend what it's like to experience that shit, you know? That's what it's like. It's like you just woke up on a completely different fucking planet, basically. Or in some kind of weird science fiction Twilight Zone kind of shit, you know? And you can't hardly find anyone to even talk to about it, and you just expected to function in this completely different world with completely different rules and completely different concepts and completely different belief systems and completely, you know, like everything is fucking upside down, backwards, and you're just supposed to like be okay with that, you know, and suck it up, buttercup, or whatever, right? Alright.